Phil Stutz. Lessons for Living. What only adversity can teach you. If you saw the popular 2022 Netflix documentary, Stutz, you'll be aware that Phil Stutz is considered the psychiatrist to the stars, a title that, though perhaps impressive, really makes him cringe. Before Stutz began attracting an A-list clientele of Hollywood celebrities and Silicon Valley CEOs, he worked as a prison psychiatrist and ran a private practice. All this to say, Stutz has seen it all over the course of his 40-year career. And perhaps the most striking takeaway from his decades-long stint is that regardless of who he's treating, whether actors or addicts or anything in between, the ailments of our modern world are getting worse, not better. Stutz has always been frustrated by traditional psychotherapy and how he felt it was set up to hinder change in patients. As a result, he created a new model with the help of his partner, Barry Michaels, and his patients themselves. This model is called the tools. Instead of being a siloed activity, Stutz's therapy requires real-world implementation. Rather than focusing on the past, the tools focus on the present. And in place of an it's-all-on-you mentality, Stutz and Michaels emphasize the crucial role of forces beyond ourselves. For most of us, embracing higher powers only ever happens when we hit rock bottom, in the face of divorce, death, or something equally devastating. But because adversity drives us to reconnect with the energies that govern existence, these experiences can almost always be framed as gifts. In essence, hardship can teach us what ease simply cannot. In this blink, we'll look at 3 key struggles Stutz has frequently seen in his clients, ones you've likely encountered firsthand too: discipline, dissatisfaction, and depression. We'll see how psychotherapy and self-development can address these adversities, but we'll also see that this is most effective only when we acknowledge and appreciate the role of higher forces. In this way, we can move toward the fulfilling, meaningful life we all yearn for. Discipline. Have you ever struggled with summoning or maintaining discipline? We won't ask for a hand raise. Very few of us haven't. Whether it's a late-night raid of the cookie jar or consecutive weekends spent working rather than resting, we all have our poison. But, as you've likely realized by now, the rich and fulfilling life you seek will continue to elude you so long as you're hooked. We can think of discipline as a proper relationship to the higher power of time. In the ancient world, rituals were an inherent part of life, tied just as readily to the passing of the day as to the passing of the seasons. Our shift away from these interwoven routines and practices is one reason Stutz believes we see such a general lack of discipline today. Another reason is the modern rise of technology in our world. It's paradoxical, but the more machines and devices we own, the less freedom of time we have. Just think of the time sacrificed getting your car serviced or responding to emails, texts, and DMs. It's no wonder discipline has become an increasingly rare commodity. When we acknowledge and submit to the higher power of time, we rightfully return it to a force worthy of our respect. We come to see that re-ritualizing our activities and carving out a regular space for them imbues them with meaning, and it's this sense of meaning that gives us the energy to show up to our commitments day after day and month after month. This is the secret to discipline, and it will transform your life. At this point, you may be thinking, well, that's good to know, but how can I benefit from this in a practical way? An unexpectedly powerful way to better wield the flow of time and unlock the energy to consistently execute is to complete a nightly review at the end of each day. In this review, specify when you will eat, exercise, sleep, work, and pray the following day. Ideally, your days would follow the same 24-hour rhythm, but of course, life happens, and you'll occasionally need to adapt. Symbolically, this exercise encourages you to create and curate each day you live, bestowing each one with a meaning unique to you. In a way, the secret of discipline is no secret at all. The universe operates in effortless rhythm, so it makes sense that we, a slice of this same universe, would too. But the clamour and clutter of today's world have knocked us out of this invisible flow, and as a result, discipline now seems like something exclusive to the superhumans among us. Really, it's an innate quality we all possess. Dissatisfaction. It's really quite ironic. Never before have we had so much access to opportunity, and yet we live in the most chronically dissatisfied society to date. Competitiveness and envy have always existed. We're a social species, and these are deeply ingrained human responses. But what has changed is the radius of our circle of comparison. Gone are the days when we competed only with those in our small tribe. Today, anyone in the world with a social media account seems fair game. Dissatisfaction, according to Stutz, may be the most destructive weapon we'll encounter on our quest to thrive in today's world. That's because when we pine after another person's path, we're saying that we don't value our own. And such a position, as you may already be intimately aware, can quickly lead to a vicious downward spiral. Luckily, there is a higher force powerful enough to disarm even this formidable threat. This force is love, and exercising it takes only a minute of simple visualization. First, imagine love as an invisible substance that permeates the universe and draws some of this abundant resource into your heart. Then, call to mind the person or group of people you feel envy toward, those who prompt a feeling of dissatisfaction toward your own life, and send this love to them, no holds barred. As you do, recognize you're assuming that their path is worth aspiring after. In reality, it might not be, and even if it is, ultimately, it has no real bearing on the quality of your own path. A natural contentedness arises when we appreciate the unique value of all lives, including our own. It's hard to thrive in this existence without a sense of meaning, and dissatisfaction is so dangerous because it encourages us to strip our own lives of it. Here again, we need to turn to a higher force, this time, love, to put us back on our own fulfilling track. Depression. Here's a way of thinking about depression you might not have encountered before. It's a reminder that we can't rely on anything external to fulfill us internally. Provocative? Perhaps, but also practical. Before we dissect this, it's important to acknowledge that medical intervention is often essential in cases of clinically diagnosed depression. In other circumstances, though, antidepressants can make a bad situation worse, feeding the illusion that things outside ourselves, such as medication, can solve all our problems. In today's hyper-externally focused modern world, where we regulate ourselves with food, sex, alcohol, work, or drugs, we seem to have forgotten a crucial fact. We are spiritual beings. While the outer world isn't inherently evil, it's nonetheless incapable of leading us to a truly fulfilling and meaningful life. And while acknowledging this might seem scary, paradoxically, it's actually the first step toward overcoming depressive episodes. A natural extension of this idea is that if external solutions don't offer the answer, our own internal responsibility for our feelings and moods must, at least to some extent. Of course, though we do need at least some internal agency, we can't be expected to bring ourselves out of any funk entirely on our own. This is where we'll turn to the higher force of forward motion, which is the natural momentum of action, to lend us a hand. Start by sitting with the feeling of your dark mood. Once you have a felt sense of it, tell yourself you will transmute this experience into something positive. Now, picture a powerful stream of energy above your head, and in it, place an image of yourself taking a specific productive action. This action could be something big, like making a significant life decision, or small, like sitting down to meditate for 10 minutes. Once you've settled on what this specific image is, see yourself flying up into the scene and viscerally feel the experience of taking action. Executing this action in the real world, as you've just done in your imagination, is now your sole purpose, and the pull of this commitment should provide you with all the energy you need to deliver. As you'll soon find, delivering on even the most simple actions can pull you out from the stickiest of depressive episodes. Rinse and repeat, and you'll transform your life from the inside out. External quick fixes will always seem more appealing than the discipline of daily internal work. Yes, sometimes medication and the higher force of forward motion will need to work hand in hand, but ultimately, only the latter is capable of keeping those blues at bay and fostering lasting fulfillment.